Welcome to a new season of Talking with Nana. Join us online for inspirational chats, great topics, engaging interviews, and a whole lot of fun. You don't want to miss my newest project. #Dream Again. I highlight everyday people like you and I reliving our dreams and making great things happen daily. Get ready to ignite your purpose this season on Talking with Nana. Hey everyone, this is Nana Dansoa, and this is me about a month ago giving a call out to feature positive stories on my newest project, #Dream Again. I just realized I love doing this. I love servicing through television, through conversations. And so in that capacity, I have a project I'm going to launch. Hi, Anitra. How are you? I would love to talk to you. I have a project I want to launch and really coming to where you are and interviewing you about some of your dreams, your goals, and what you're doing. That's my goal. And so I want to get out this week. So if you're out there and you're doing something very positive and it's aligned up with dreaming again, how you redreaming your life and repurposing your life, I would love to hear from you. Inbox me or send me an email, Talking with Nana. So I want to make sure I can share your stories. This is what I'm born to do. I am not born to be an architect. I'm not born to none of that. And when I look at my purpose and how my purpose has been aligned, my purpose has always been in aligned with helping, inspiring, and making a difference. I was outdone. My post reached over 1,300 views. Do you hear me? 1,300 views over, right? And in my world, that's like 1 million. I had a chance to chat with some great people. And I am so excited that now I get a chance to share their stories on the newest season of Talking with Nana. Thank you for joining. Now, inside the show. Encourage you about when you saw it. Just explain what happened that day.
Well, when I was on Facebook and I saw Nana talking about dreaming again, I was extremely encouraged. I was inspired, honestly. I saw her story and I saw some of her videos about some of the things that she was doing to dream again. And when she sent the call out for those to respond who had their own stories, I jumped on the chance because I knew what had transpired in my own life could also inspire other women or other people in general, and I was excited to share that.
What is your Dream Again story and what happened for you?
Wow, my Dream Again story was coming alive again after divorce. And I went through a very dark season. I was married for 12 years and I went through quite a bit. It was a tumultuous marriage and it ended after 12 years, and there was a lot of emotional abuse. And while I don't want to focus on that, in that I've forgiven my ex-husband, I understand why things were the way that they were and why I even chose him to be my husband. So I went through a great process of healing. But before I even got to that point, I began at rock bottom. I had very, very low self-esteem coming out of the marriage. I was significantly over 100 pounds overweight. At my heaviest, I was 268 pounds, and I had to find myself. And I found myself just completely depleted of my self-worth, of my value, of who I was, of self-esteem. And I began with martial arts. I began training in martial arts, and I found so much confidence and strength, and I began competing in multiple facets of martial arts, in karate, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in Muay Thai kickboxing, and then eventually I began to compete in mixed martial arts. And at the same time, I entered into grad school the first time as a way to begin to take care of my family, because after the divorce, I didn't have any work forced experience. Honestly, I homeschooled my children though for the duration of our marriage, and so after the divorce happened, I had to find myself a job. I had to find myself a new career. So the natural transition for me was to go into education because I was already accustomed to teaching my children. So I had a bachelor's in music, but I didn't want to pursue being a music teacher. So I went back and got a general education degree, a master's degree in general education, so that I could teach and take care of my family, take care of my 3 sons. And so it was just out of sheer desperation. It wasn't something aspirational to be a teacher. I just needed to take care of my family. But during that time, I discovered that I had a love for people and a heart for people, and I began to see the disparities between people in the inner city as far as education and opportunity and people in the suburbs. And my heart would break as I saw kindergartners coming into school ill prepared and not knowing what they needed to know and being 2 or 3 years behind, and then meeting their families and discovering that there was a link, a strong link as to the reason that that was. And so when I began I began teaching or being a paraeducator in my children's school, the first school that they ever attended. I began as a paraeducator and a substitute teacher. And as I would work there, this passion began to burn in me, and I began to talk to other people and say, what is it that we can do to stop this trend that we're seeing of kids coming into school and being ill prepared, and there are different ideas and different thoughts that were given, but nothing was actually being done. And so it was just something, it was a burning that just never ever went away. And so I graduated from grad school with a master's in education, and I got my own classroom, and I moved into a different school that was like in the hood. It was in Detroit with a lot of families that were very, very low income. Many of my students' parents are incarcerated or have been incarcerated, and I began to see trauma in my classroom. I began to see the trauma of my students play out in my classroom, and I also began to see how parents began to connect with me and attach with me. And one day I just, I don't know if it was in prayer or just out of the blue, I heard the words life coach. And it was baffling to me because at that time I didn't even know what a life coach was. I think I had heard of it, but I wasn't sure. And then one of the parents of a student said to me, Miss Rice, you are like my personal mentor, which was interesting to me. And at the time, it was difficult for me to take that in because I was still reeling from the aftershocks of the divorce, and I didn't really fully see myself at that time. I didn't really fully see my potential or who I was and what I was capable of. And I was still healing, but God still used me in her life to bless her and to give her hope, which was really, it was humbling and interesting at the same time, and just inspirational for me. It was ironic that I was inspiring her, but at the same time, it was reciprocal. I was definitely being inspired by her and her the way she looked at me. And so after that time, it was maybe a couple of years later or so, I began a series of events led me to realize that God was indeed calling me to be a life coach. I began to research some things, and I began to connect with some people and everything, and I ended up going to life coaching school. And it literally changed my life. It was an amazing and a phenomenal experience that the Lord literally walked with me through the whole time. And I got to meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, so many different thought perspectives, and it was such a huge growth experience for me. And so I thought, okay, Lord, I'm going to take this now and I'm going to work with parents, because this passion that I had that started when I first went into education, it was still there. And so as I began to see the trauma play out in my classroom with my students, and as I began to see their parents' stories or their family stories, I could see the link. I knew that the next avenue was for me to work with parents. And so as I began to coach some of the parents of my students, and I began to see success with that and success in my classroom. I hosted seminars and workshops and things like that, and I began to see results and hear wonderful, wonderful testimonies of families being changed and hearts being changed and things like that. I knew, though, that there was more that I needed to learn, and that there were some things that I could not offer them because what my skills were limited as a life coach.
Hey there, are you enjoying the show? Me too. Thanks for watching Talking with Nana. We'll be right back after this message. Hey kings and queens, this is Nana Dansoa. Do you have a Dream Again story you want to share with my audience? Great, log on to my website, talkingwithnana.com. Now back to the show.
I knew, though, that there was more that I needed to learn, and that there were some things that I could not offer them because what my skills were limited as a life coach. I knew that there were some traumas that I was not skilled at that time to address. And so from there, it's kind of funny because I did not want to go back to grad school. I was good. I promise you, I did not want to go back to grad school. But then it was funny because my heart and my passion as I worked with parents, what was funny was that I began to do research, and I was researching all of these different things that I would actually end up researching more in depth when I went back to grad school for the second time. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll just go back and get my doctorate. But the way that this particular program is, I would have needed to go back and get another master's degree. So the Lord, through a series of events, and for me, you know, reaching out to my mentor, and who also she's a PhD, and she has a counseling degree and all of those things, and she's also one of my pastors. I reached out to her and she said, Anitra, it sounds like you would be interested in family systems. And I was like, oh Lord, really? I don't want to go back to grad school. But I said, okay, Lord, okay, amen. Because my heart was there, and I knew I was actually really excited. I didn't want to because of the workload, but I was excited at the idea of studying more in depth what I had already been studying, and to be able to help these families more fully. That really, really excited me. So the program I went into, or I am in right now currently, I'm more than halfway done with my program, praise God. But I'm a student of marriage and family therapy. So, and that's the funny thing too. I feel like God has a sense of humor because I'm still single. I am not dating anyone, and I'm like, Jesus, marriage and family therapy, really? And it's kind of funny to me, but at the same time, even studying to be a marriage and family therapist, it's so funny because God brought even more healing into my life because I'm studying to be a marriage and family therapist. But also during the undercurrent of all of this has been my continual growth and my healing, and facing things intentionally and going back and seeing, okay, Lord, what led me to be in that marriage in the first place, and what, peeling back all of the layers of my pain and peeling back all of the layers of everything that I had experienced, even prior to my husband, my ex-husband, and from my childhood and all the trauma that I experienced even then, to be able to be who I am today, and to be able to receive the people in my life that God is causing to come into my life to glean from me, from my story. So that is my dream again.
Thank you again for watching the Talking with Nana show. This was a great interview. Learn more about some of the people I'll be connecting with and talking to very soon. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Talking with Nana. I appreciate your time, and remember to dream again. I'm Nana Dansoa, and this is Talking with Nana.